you can't bend. Y'all be playing it safe and I be going for the win. Remember back when they was doubting on the kid. Now they tuned in cause my game too legit.
There's a lot of you know about the fantasy headlines. Nation. Headline nation. Fantasy headlines for the nation. I'm a headliner. I'm a headliner.
Yo. Analytics off the chain. All the channels, not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. Y'all stuck on third down. Your content's plain Jane. Headliners on top now. We gonna move and change. Podcast off the rip. Draft guide, so legit. Fantasy world, our game tight. You know we about that chub life. Stuck in a rut and you need some motivation. Head to the channel for this Headliner Nation.
I'm a headliner.
Yo, what's going on, nation? Welcome in to the Fantasy Headliners Live.
Where we're just going to hang out with people, Kyle. We're just going to sit here and talk to the people. Because the people are important, Kyle.
They are.
They are pretty important. We got a few things we're going to talk about here
Especially
today.
These two people right here.
Is there somebody else in the room with you, or were you including me?
I was pointing to you, too.
Okay, I didn't know if there's somebody off camera that you were like...
Craig, get out.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Never know where I sit in the pecking order with you, Kyle. I do know that I'm ahead of Ethan, though, so that's a good thing.
That's 100% true.
I know where I stand there. What is going on? I see James Dennison, Lorenzo, Timo out there in the chat. We got Tim Mendiola. What's going on? How you guys doing? BC, OEG official in the chat.
Lorenzo! I just
That's
wanted to say it like that.
That's fine. You got it off your chest now. But yeah, we're just going to hang out with you guys. It's like a lunch break for us. Maybe it's a lunch break for you. And if it is, we can have lunch together. Because that's what it's all about. Kyle, what do you got for lunch today?
I had a late breakfast. We had a 2-hour delay here today for school. So, like, my daughter and my son are spaced 2 hours apart in terms of when they have to be there. So I had to take my daughter earlier, and then my son and I went to Bob Evans and got breakfast. So I got a delicious Ben gifting 5 memberships to
Right
the
off the bat.
Headliner Nation community.
What is going... We appreciate that. I mean, the streak has continued, Kyle. Every time we do a live stream on this channel, Ben is out there gifting memberships, and
He's even gifting memberships on the gaming channel.
yeah, I mean, he's
keeping it alive.
He is. He's up there. I mean, he has become legend status in the community to people. So if you just got a free membership from Darth Desmond, make sure you tell him thank you in the chat. So is it snowing there, Kyle? Is that why? Is there like a delay, or is it just cold,
It was
or
fog.
what?
No snow. It rained a lot yesterday.
Like, how much fog are we talking about? Was it bad?
Fog-wise,
Yeah.
it was bad enough that I'm actually surprised that they didn't cancel school for the day, because
Wow.
the fog actually didn't even drop until like a little bit ago. Like, it was like maybe a quarter mile of visibility up until about 11:30.
Lit Nick out there with some lemon pepper chicken wings. Those sound delish right now. I could get down with some wings.
Woo.
Greg Weston saying what about Lamar to Atlanta? Do you think that actually happens, Kyle?
I don't. I think he stays.
I don't think it does either. I mean, can I see the draw to Atlanta? Maybe a little bit, but I don't see that personally happening. I mean, he needs a long-term deal in Baltimore. Does he get franchise tagged? maybe. You know, I mean, that's kind of where I'm sitting.
I think he gets franchise tagged.
Yep.
And it's going to be non-exclusive, or it's going to be exclusive, so no one's going to be able to have a chance to compete with it. So the only way that he goes anywhere is if they trade him. And you're going to have to not only give up a ton of draft capital, but you're also going to have to then pay him. I don't think he gets fully guaranteed money.
Yeah.
Not saying that he doesn't deserve it. I just don't think he gets it. And I think you're going to have to pay him darn near close to it.
Yeah. I don't see that happening.
Retro. Anytime Retro B comments on a video, it's always about how about those Chiefs. When he used to do it, I would be like, what? I didn't say anything bad about the Chiefs. And then one day he was just like, yeah, I'm not saying that. I just want to say it every time. So now I know.
Now you know that when he says it, he's just happy for his Chiefs out there.
My man Briz with the $5 donation.
Briz?
Morning Headliner fam, just seen you were live. Got to get back to work. Stay classy. Briz, appreciate you, baby. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Mike with a little hashtag Team Toxic in the chat. What up, Mike? Ben not only gifted 5 memberships, but he also became a member for the 5th straight month of Excessive Chub. Memberships are my way of giving back to an amazing community. So happy to be here. Thank you, guys. Ben, appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Lorenzo says, where do you guys think Aaron Rodgers lands since he got back from his darkness retreat? I mean...
Would it surprise you if he just ends up staying in Green Bay?
No, it would not. There's 2 things that I don't think would surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if he stays in Green Bay, and it wouldn't surprise me if he retires. Like that, those 2 things, like if it were to be announced, I wouldn't be shocked.
The only reason I don't think he retires is because he would go into the Hall of Fame the same year as Brady. And I don't think he doesn't have the ego to be overshadowed like that.
That's a possibility too.
So he gives it one more year.
One more year just so he can go in a different year. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the whole darkness retreat thing, we kind of talked about that earlier in the week. We were laughing about it and stuff.
He's just had like I don't want to compare it to Antonio Brown, but it's kind of the same situation where it feels like these players used to be like very normal and level-headed. And as they got older, all of a sudden they've become very odd. And like, obviously Antonio Brown is just freaking crazy at this point, it feels like. But just like the way Aaron Rodgers has acted like the last 3 or 4 years with like this meditation stuff that he's doing, and just like his demeanor and how he acts towards the organization and the offseason, it feels like this is the 3rd straight offseason where it has to be all about Aaron Rodgers, and he makes it about himself, and he's got this darkness retreat that he's doing. It feels like as he's gotten older, it's been very much about like him, like he wants to make it about him. And I don't think good quarterbacks do that. I mean, Patrick Mahomes has 2 freaking Super Bowls and MVPs, and outside of being at Disney World and almost drunkenly giving away the Super Bowl trophy to a fan, dude, we don't hear anything from the dude in the offseason. Yeah. He's quiet as can be.
Yep. And I mean, I get it. Some people are just into different types of things. Cool. If it's meditation, I understand everybody's got a reasoning for things. It just seems like the last couple of years has just kind of been like all over the place. I mean, take nothing away from Aaron Rodgers' ability on the field. He is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I mean, the guy deserves to be in that conversation. Is he just kind of like a QB diva? A little bit, for sure. Nick says he's going to Indy, so him and his dog, Pat McAfee, can officially fall in love together. I mean, that would make a lot of sense, right? I mean, they're like best friends. The Raiders for A-Rod, I get it because of Devontae Adams, but I just don't know. Like,
I would hate to be a quarterback and try to go to the AFC.
Yeah, I just don't know.
You got to fight through Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, potentially Justin Herbert if they can take the next step.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part. Is like you're talking about him going to a place where he's going to have to actually really try to make the playoffs, and they couldn't make it where they were just at. You know what I mean? So I mean that's a problem. I don't know if he wants to go somewhere and have to really work real hard to win. He's staying in Green Bay.
I don't want it to feel like this is just Aaron Rodgers slander because, like we just mentioned, he's going to go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I don't want to take all the responsibility off the Green Bay Packers, though, because they have messed this up on their end as well. They have failed to get him weapons. They failed on the Devontae Adams saga. They drafted Jordan Love in the first round when they probably should not have and could have waited. They have also not done everything that they should have done to help their support. And I even tweeted it. Like, I don't know, it was a couple of months ago, and I was like, imagine having Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre for like, what was it, like 20-something years or whatever it is at this point. I don't remember for sure. And only having 2 Super Bowls. Two of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game, and you only got 2 Super Bowls during that time. Not very many franchises get franchise quarterbacks for that long, let alone 2 of them back-to-back. And Patrick Mahomes has just as many.
Yeah, that's what's crazy right there.
Yep.
Bill Hollywood says, hey, are wide receivers better for fantasy if they're on turf over grass? Not something you probably overly look because they're going to play on both all year long anyway. Obviously with road games if they have turf at home, but I don't want to say they're better on turf than grass. Field conditions have a lot to do with that. I mean, weather has a lot to do with that. Most of the time, if it's grass, for the most part, it's an outdoor stadium. Like, that stuff plays a part. I don't know if I really want to just say that I'm looking for guys that play on turf.
Yeah, and turf might play a little bit quicker. So, and I've never done a study on are fantasy points higher on turf than grass, so I've never done that. But I do know there's plenty of studies that players get hurt on turf far more than grass as well. So, unless it's grass like the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and then it just rips apart.
Yeah, then it sucks.
Yeah,
Supreme becoming a member for the 7th month. Supreme says, see you guys in KC. Woo! Going to be meeting Supreme and the fam in KC. They're going to be driving over to hang out with us. Excited to meet up with those guys. My Warzone partner in crime. And then the Q becoming a member for the 19th straight month. The Q going through fantasy football withdrawals right now. Thank God for season 3 of The Mandalorian. I didn't even know that came out. So I know you guys are Mandalorians, right?
Yeah, we all watch it. I don't know if it hasn't come out yet though, or it's right around this time. It's next month or something. I don't know. I don't pay attention. I just get told when it's time to watch it.
Can't wait to see what the headliners come out with this year. It's going to be 2023 is going to be a big year. I can just tell you that right now.
I know we put a thing on the community tab yesterday, but what is this? This is Thursday today, Thursday the 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
Next Tuesday, we're heading to Indy, and we're going to be in Indianapolis all week long for the Combine. But we're not just going to like sit in the upper deck seats to watch the Combine. No. We have media credentials. We'll be interviewing players all week long. We'll be heading over watching the on-field drills at night in the stadium. It's going to be a very, very busy week, but we're hoping to get a lot of good content there while we're at it. Supreme already hinted to Kansas City. We're going to be in Kansas City for the draft. If you're anywhere near Kansas City, I recommend trying to get there that weekend of the draft. I believe it's going to be that Saturday. We're trying to put together some type of a meetup so we can actually hang out with as many people as possible that are in that area. And you never know. Even though we're going to be working a lot next week, Kyle, I already had somebody come on Twitter and say, hey, are you guys doing something up a meetup in Indianapolis? Probably nothing officially.
Right. Not official, but we'll be around.
But we're going to be at the stadiums from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. But if anybody wants to hang out Friday night, Saturday night after that, I'm sure we can figure something out.
Absolutely. Nick's starting his walk to go get Nate. Then he's got to pick up Anna in the wheelbarrow. Then he's got to find a way to get to Mike.
Wow.
And Discord in the MVP chat, I may or may not have designated Nick as the
Uber?
official driver of everybody to come to Indianapolis.
Yeah, March 1st. Ben, that's right. March 1st is Mandalorian. That's
What's
right.
up,
I knew it was coming up.
Chuck says, ball. Anyone else celebrating Mardi Gras this week?
Is that this week?
I've never been to Mardi Gras.
Me neither. I've never been to New Orleans in general.
That's true. Me neither.
I've never even driven through New Orleans.
Same. But I hear it's a lovely place. I would love to go.
I mean, I would too. I would like to go there and see it. Honestly, I don't know much about. I know Mardi Gras gets absolutely crazy, but outside of Mardi Gras and Saints games, is there anything to do in?
I want to go for the food.
Okay. Like, what kind of food are you talking about here?
Anything that I can get my hands on. First off, you got to get yourself. I would have to have some like New Orleans, like gumbo, crawfish, like good New Orleans seafood dishes.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
And then I would need to go to like a place. I forget the name of it, but like the main place in New Orleans that's known for the beignets. I would have to have some of those too.
I would probably be down with that. I couldn't be doing the seafood gumbo type stuff.
Ben says New Orleans is haunted as hell.
Is it really? I mean, I've seen videos and look. I mean, it looks like there could be some things around there for sure. I believe that the tours are incredible. I've heard lots of ghosts and voodoo. Okay, yeah.
Cafe de Monde. Yes, Chuck, that's the one I'm talking about. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be down with some of the food. The crime is bad. I could probably see that too.
Yo, if you are watching right now, though, we need you to hit that like button because we've got 72 people watching and only 24 likes.
Wow.
We need some more of these on the stream. Hit that like button for us. Hazelnut, what's going on? Cajun Baby Cajun went there for 4 nights for my 40th birthday. Not a bad way to.
Yeah, but you got to think, Kyle. 4 days of Cajun. Do you realize what happened on day 5?
He doesn't remember it.
I mean,
between the drinking,
the body
and the
probably
food,
remembers it.
He was probably on the toilet a lot, but he probably doesn't remember it. So like they canceled each other out.
Okay, I got you.
Greg Watson's got a good question here. Who's taking Bijan Robinson in the first round? This has been an interesting question because there's a couple of things at play this year that don't help Bijan, but he's one of the best players in this draft.
Talent-wise, yes.
Talent-wise, 100%. But number one, you've got so many free agent running backs this year that running back needy teams may not necessarily say, I want to draft Bijan in the first round.
Yep.
Number two, I think after we've seen guys like Leonard Fournette and Zeke Elliott taken so high in the first round over the last several years, that teams just, Saquon Barkley, just teams are not wanting to do it. Because if you were to ask those teams, hey, you drafted these guys at the top of the first round, do you think you got the value that you deserved from them? I guarantee you that they would all respond and say no. Not that Saquon hasn't been good. Not that Zeke hasn't been. Well, Jerry Jones loves Zeke, so Jerry Jones would probably say yes. Not that they haven't been good at times, but have they been better than the players that were drafted top 10? So I think teams are still are in that mindset right now where they're like, I'm not interested in taking a running back that high. So I believe that Bijan could fall. I believe he could fall like middle of the first round. I also think that he could end up being taken in the top 10. But there's one thing for certain, and Jake, I'll let you give me your thoughts on this. The analysts out there that put together mock drafts solely for the purpose of fantasy football reasons.
Yeah,
because they'll mock Bijan Robinson to the best landing spot that they want to see fantasy output from and not the best spot that he could actually be drafted.
Yeah.
And Swaggy P says, imagine Bijan on the Eagles. I've actually mocked him to the Eagles twice because, yes, they need to replace some guys on the defensive side of the ball, but just imagine that offense with Miles Sanders gone and now Bijan Robinson at the running back position. Who in the hell is going to be able to stop the Eagles next year?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and look what happened just a couple of years ago was, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jonathan Taylor falling a little bit later than a lot of people had thought. Like, that same type of thing can happen again. And when you go through the draft order, I think that I'm leading a little bit more towards late first than I am early first because the teams that are in the front half of the first round have so many needs. Running back just ain't it. It's not a position where you can say, for the most part, if you're drafting early in the draft, where you draft a running back and they make you an immediate Super Bowl contender. Like, that's just not the case. The guys like the Eagles, who are like a player or two away, that were this close, they get a player like that, and then all of a sudden, yes, it makes them more of a contender from a fantasy standpoint, from a fun watching football standpoint, I would love him to go to the Eagles.
And I think, too, Justin PG says, stop mocking him to the Eagles in the first round if you're doing that. No, Justin, I'm not. Because there's nothing that says that them drafting him in the first round is bad. They've got 2 first-round picks. They're coming off a Super Bowl appearance. They've got 2 first-round picks, one of which is inside the top 10. The Eagles have a little bit of fun money to play with, I would like to say. And to say the Eagles are not taking it back in the first, you don't know that. You're not sitting there in the room with them, Justin. So it would make sense for them to take a running back.
Would it make sense for them to do it at number 10? No.
No, not necessarily. And I will say, I have him going to the Eagles at number 10 in my next mock that will come out on Saturday. But here is why. Because at that point in the draft, there's going to be really, the first round this year is going to be hit or miss. There are going to be some very good players, but the first round talent for 2023 just isn't there like we have seen in years past. They are going to be some hit and miss players. So if you're sitting at number 10, one of the main things that the Eagles might need there is a cornerback. But cornerbacks are very, very deep this year. There is there are like 6 cornerbacks, 5 or 6 cornerbacks that all have first round potential. One of them, I guarantee, will be available for the Eagles at the end of the first. And because of that, why not take best player available? Why not go with Bijan Robinson at number 10, who likely at that point, if he hasn't already been drafted, will be the best player, the best talent available on the board? How many times have we seen that before? The Cincinnati Bengals didn't need Jamar Chase. He was the best player available on the board at that time, and they said, we're going to go with him because we want to make the offense better. Jalen Hurts has now had a huge breakout year. You don't think teams are going to be watching that video now heading into this year on Jalen Hurts? Do you not think teams are going to be a little bit more prepared for what that offense does? If you add Bijan Robinson as the running back to that offense, now you can successfully run that RPO. And now, not only that, but you're going to have to try and stop not 1, but 2 elite runners in the backfield. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert are going to have one-on-one situations all day long, which is going to make easy plays for Jalen Hurts. It makes sense. It makes sense for them to do it, and I don't hate it.
Yep, for sure. What else we got? What about, you guys think the Cowboys will trade Zeke and the Browns trade Hunt? I mean, Hunt's a free agent, right? Or is he still got one more year? I don't even know. But I'm almost positive Hunt's no longer going to be in Cleveland. Does that mean that it's just Nick Chubb? Probably not, because there's other guys that they're going to utilize in that offense because they hate us when it comes to fantasy football. But, yeah, I don't know if I see that. Not too many people are going to trade for an aging running back in Zeke with a lot of money on a contract. I don't see that happening. The Eagles should go QB sneak on every down, Falafa said.
I mean, they'll pick up 1 yard every time, guaranteed.
At least,
but
maybe even 2. Maybe even 2. I hope he goes to the Eagles. Jalen Hurts. Yeah, Ben wants Tim to go to the Eagles so his Jalen Hurts card skyrockets that he got in break you. Yeah, he wants a Jalen Hurts Super Bowl. What else we got?
Cowboys trading Zeke. I don't see it. Jerry Jones loves Zeke. I think Zeke's going to take a pay cut, though. I think he's going to take a pay cut.
I think he would be fine with that because it's not like he's out there leading the league in all kinds of categories and then being asked to take a pay cut.
Wishful, should the Chargers get rid of Keenan Allen? No. You don't subtract weapons from a good young quarterback. You leave them in place. Yeah, especially with how injured Mike Williams is all the time. In fact, I think the Chargers should draft another wide receiver. If they get a wide receiver that falls to them, last year I was really against it, but they got their offensive line talent last year. So this year I'm all for, like, if a Jackson Smith-Njigba were to fall down to the Chargers, drafting him, adding him into the slot. Now Josh Palmer is your wide receiver 4. Gerald Everett is gone, so you're not going to have that weapon at tight end that you had last year. Mike Williams and then Keenan Allen on the outside. With the way that Mike Williams has been hurt, Keenan Allen being a year older and coming off an injury-plagued season, have people ready for him.
Yeah, exactly. Kareem Hunt is, I just checked, he's an unrestricted free agent. So who knows what happens with him.
We've been waiting for the Browns to trade him for 2 years.
Yeah.
And now hopefully he just goes.
Yep. Let's see here. Ricky. What up, Ricky? Just can't wait for the mock draft season. Can we go to week 1 already? I can do without April through August in my life. Miami needs to win the AFC East this year. I don't want to say I could do without April through August because I'm going to miss my birthday and stuff in there, Ricky. So
Same.
See, so we don't want to miss our birthdays, okay? We got to have our birthdays in there. But I know what you mean. Trust me. When you
Not only that, but this is a really fun time of the year, too.
Yes. Now, from a business perspective, I agree. This part of the year is just not great for business. But when you're talking about the amount of content and different things you can talk about, that's where we love to do it because we're not handcuffed by certain topics, rankings, start sits. Like we can talk about anything and everything. And I don't know how many people, we got 78 people out there right now. I don't know if anybody in the chat can agree that I don't know if anyone can touch our off-season content with the amount of depth and everything that we go into. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but I'm also biased. I feel like our off-season content kind of separates us more than the in-season content, if I'm being honest.
For sure. BC Deer just re-enlisted in the Army for a few more years a few minutes ago and now back to all of you. Thanks for the membership. BC Deer, thank you.
Appreciate you.
For your
Appreciate
service.
You. Yep, very much so.
Mike's asked this a couple of times about Kyle Trask.
Oh, Lord.
I'm having a tough time with this one because you drafted Kyle Trask to be the heir to...
The hair?
The hair.
Air.
The heir.
Air. Don't you
heir.
don't want to be the hair. You don't want to be the hair.
The heir to Tom Brady. And he sat behind Tom Brady, who, I don't know, maybe this is just my opinion, is one of the best quarterbacks in the league to learn from, right? Mm-hmm. I would give him a shot. You're not trading up to draft a quarterback. It's just not going to happen. So you're not going to get the quarterback this year. Spending a ton of money to bring in a Derek Carr or an Aaron Rodgers or a Jimmy Garoppolo, and maybe it's not even like a ton, but even spending the money, to me, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Tampa Bay should take this year and retool. Give Kyle Trask the shot, see if he can do it, and if he can't, then you end up in a position next year that is going to be a loaded quarterback class. The quarterback class of 2024 has the opportunity to not only be a lot deeper, but a lot better, and this year's class is actually pretty darn good. So next year's class could be even better, but then at that point, if you end up sucking, draft a quarterback next year. I think they should give Kyle Trask a shot. I don't think they should spend the money on somebody else. Now, Jake, I know that you also believe that they are Derek Carr away from winning the NFC South as well.
Yes. I mean, I think that anybody goes there that has any type of previous experience / talent can take that team and win that division. And that's the only reason why I feel that it would be more intriguing to the bigger name free agent wide or quarterbacks out there, because they can go there and they can win. That division is horrendous. Carolina, Atlanta, New Orleans, none of them have quarterbacks either, right? So nobody is like the front runner in that division. You can basically go there and be like, all right, we're going to the playoffs where anything can happen. And I just worry about, and maybe this is once again, Kyle, where we think about fantasy instead of reality,
right?
Is like, I hate to waste Mike Evans and Chris Godwin for a year. Like, I hate that. Heck, I even hate to waste what we could see from Rachaad White if he's given a bigger role in the offense. And that's the part that just worries me, is just, it's like, man, we could throw away a lot of talent. Even though Mike Evans sucked huevos this year, he still had a decent year. He was just drafted too high. It's a lot of talent to put at the hands of a guy who we don't know a whole, if he can even do the job or not. Maybe he is. Maybe he's maybe he's like a Brock Purdy guy that's going to come in and surprise everybody. But on the surface right now, I haven't seen enough of Kyle Trask to be like, that dude can go in there and win the division with the team he's got.
And that's the thing too. Like you just said it and hit the nail on the head. We haven't seen him. He hasn't had to play, so we haven't been able to see what he can or can't do. My hope is that because he's been there for the last 2 years, is that he has some sort of a rapport working in practice with a Mike Evans and a Chris Godwin. Because one thing we saw from Tom Brady this past year is that he was granted, and I think this kind of went a little bit under the radar, but he was granted like a personal day during the week. Like on Wednesdays, he didn't have to show up to practice. He was allowed to have the day off. I would assume Kyle Trask was running with the ones on Wednesdays.
Or was it Blaine Gabbert?
That's true. It could have been Blaine Gabbert too.
And that's maybe the whole thing. Is like we just don't know. Like
we have no idea. We have no idea.
We don't know who got what.
My hope would be that at some point that he's had an opportunity to work with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Whereas if you bring in Derek Carr or whatever, he's not gonna have an opportunity to maybe establish that rapport right away. But it will be interesting to see what they do, because I believe they feel like their window is still open, and I would agree with that. Like you said, the NFC South isn't full of a ton of contenders right now either. So, but I do think like the Frank Reich hire in Carolina was very, very good. If they make a move up to come get a quarterback, I think they could potentially be in a situation. They have weapons there. Their defense has a lot of really good young players on it. And again, being in a weaker division, they would have an opportunity to maybe take a step up. So I don't know what we're going to get from Desmond Ridder in Atlanta. So that's going to be interesting. But I don't know if their defense is fully capable of it yet or not. And then
the
New
Saints,
Orleans.
what is it, Jameis Winston?
Yeah, who's the quarterback going to be? Is Alvin Kamara going to be suspended? Are they going to be able to do anything?
Does Michael Thomas feel like playing football ever again? I mean, it's just there's a lot of question marks, and that's the only reason why I said early on that, man, Derek Carr to Tampa Bay makes him an immediate playoff team. Heck, I think if Jimmy G's fully healthy and you send Jimmy G to Tampa Bay, they're a playoff team. You know, it's just something like that where if you had a veteran quarterback, I think they still have the pieces. Maybe Kyle Trask is the guy. Maybe he is. I don't know.
Not.
Maybe he's not. I mean, Wishful out there says Sam Howell, quarterback one next year. Okay, not quarterback one overall. Quarterback one of Washington, yes, he's going to get that chance. And
I like that they're giving him the chance.
I am a Sam Howell truther. And when he fell in the draft, everybody was like, see, he's not that good. And instead of actually watching the guy play, we got like a 1-game sample size last year. Sam Howell is not going to be Jalen Hurts. No. He's not going to be, but he's mobile. He can move. He has that ability to move in the pocket. He wants to push the ball down the field. So that all of a sudden helps out when you have guys like McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. You got guys underneath like Curtis Samuel. I like Brian Robinson in the backfield. A solid defense. I think Sam Howell could be a huge surprise this year for people who didn't pay attention to him over the last few years. Do you
want to remind everyone why no one paid attention to him in college before he was drafted?
Because everybody on his damn team got drafted to the
Because
NFL.
Everyone got drafted.
Literally everyone got drafted, and he was asked to do everything. He rushed for almost 1,000 yards. I mean, he just wasn't the huge passing numbers that he had in the past because of his players being drafted to the NFL. It hurt. I mean, it hurt him, but he molded his game. When he didn't have the weapons on the outside, he took it upon himself to run the ball more, and people knocked him for that, from not wanting to throw the ball down the field. He didn't have a choice. Sam Howell is I'm very excited to see Sam Howell next year. I've actually been buying up some Sam Howell rookie cards here lately, just in case there's some type of magic that starts the 2023 season.
Washington has been a little bit more of a popular pick in our breaks because people are wanting to get their hands on. Somehow we pulled a really, really nice dual RPA gold 7 of 10 Sam Howell Jahan Dotson from Illusions the other night.
I like Jahan Dotson a lot.
Nice. I like that. I do. I like that offense. I like Sam Howell. I think he's going to be a guy that gets the job done and nothing more. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't believe that there's anything wrong with that. Yeah. So from a fantasy standpoint, is he a top 12 quarterback? Maybe not.
Right.
But he could be like not Jared Goff from this past season,
Right.
but maybe Jared Goff from the year before, where he does a decent job, puts up some yards and things like that. Is everybody going to hit every single week? Probably not.
Probably not.
But they're going to get a job. They're going to get the job done in Washington, and I think they could have a decent offense this year. So Sam Howell, I like.
Yeah, I like Sam Howell a lot. Michael Thomas, Hazelnut says he needs to hang up his cleats. Pretty sure he's been hanging up his cleats for the last 3 years.
Yeah, he hasn't done. He's got one touchdown pass and
whatever it is. It's not.
And everybody last year was like, I'm drafting Michael Thomas, and he comes out and he has a banger of a game, and we're like, all right, that's fine. Enjoy it while it's there. And then
that was it. Yes, that was it. Cordero Patterson from Raul. He's getting old. Does he get enough snaps? No, I will not touch Cordero Patterson this year. You saw it at the end of last year. Tyler Algier. It's like a switch just flipped with Tyler Algier, and the game slowed down like the last 5-7 games of the season, and he became infinitely better than he was to start the year. That offense fits Tyler Algier. He's probably going to be the guy going forward.
Yep. No, I think he could be. My hope is that he's not overdrafted. That's the only thing. If you can get him as your RB3, I really like that.
Yep.
If you have to start taking him as like your RB2 and like a high-end RB2 where you're overdrafting, that is where I get a little bit more concerned, because again, Desmond Ridder, is he going to stay consistent enough to keep the pressure off the run game? We know the volume is going to be there because Atlanta's offense is all about the run game. So we know the volume is going to be there, but how good is that volume going to be? So that's my concern. If you can get him like as your RB3 next year, I think that's absolutely perfect. A guy that you can flex on a weekly basis. That is what I want from Tyler Algier. And if the offense works out well, he goes a little bit higher than that. Buck wants to know Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson next year. I mean, you got to stick with Justin Jefferson.
I don't dislike Jamar Chase.
Right. It's nothing against Chase.
Right. As of right now, I'll have Jefferson probably. I mean, but they're probably going to be close back to back in the rankings. I mean, it's probably going to be 1A, 1B.
T1F says the Jags are coming. League better watch out. The league's already watching out. They don't need to.
Yes.
Everyone knows the Jags are here. After the run that they had and then getting that playoff win, everybody knows
Calvin
that the
Ridley
Jags are here.
This year. I mean, that's huge. I mean, a lot of people will forget about Calvin Ridley, and I'm not going to come out and just say, hey, he's a top 10 wide receiver in the league anymore. But when you take an offense that was already clicking second half of the year, you give them an entire offseason with a player. It's not like this guy's going to be drafted late or come in late or traded late. Like he's been a Jag for almost 6-8 months now. Sure, he wasn't at practices and stuff like that, but he's been a part of the franchise. So he's not like just some guy coming off the street. And then you're going to add that to Christian Kirk. You're going to add that to Travis Etienne. Evan Ingram more than likely will be back too.
Zay Jones is still going to be there, so you're going to have 3 wide.
Yep. Marvin Jones may be there as like the 4th option. I mean, there's going to be so much potential in this offense. And Trevor Lawrence is another one of those guys who just took a huge leap forward. And if that consistency can continue, the Jags will win that division probably for the next few years. And it probably won't be much of a surprise.
Yeah, DG says that he thinks Ridley is done playing football. I don't. I think
Why would he be?
I think he's itching to get back. Now, yes, he did kind of shock everybody in 2021 when out of nowhere he was like, I have to be done playing football. Mm-hmm. And I don't think anybody really knows the reason for sure behind that outside of him and his close group. But for whatever reason it was, he's now had an entire year where he was in such essentially forced to stay away from the game. Also, I do believe that penalty was far too much. I don't think he should have gotten a full year when other guys aren't even getting close to it. So I don't agree with the suspension timeline either.
And if he was done
forced
playing,
to step away.
If he was done playing, he wouldn't applied for reinstatement.
Right. Yep. He would have just. So I think he's going to be back, and I think he's excited to be a part of a winning team. I think he's excited to be a part of a team with a really good quarterback. He's got help around him, so he's going to be able to succeed. Will it take him a little bit of time? Maybe. I don't think he's going to be like a wide receiver 1, maybe not even a high-end wide receiver 2 to start, because, again, they've got a lot of people around him. But I think he's a guy that could have some big games down the stretch for them, and he's going to require some attention if he starts to play very well.
Yep.
I don't think he's done it all.
Yeah, no, I don't either. And that's what's great. Like you said, he's not going to have to come in and be the guy.
Right.
But you can say from a talent perspective, is he better than a Zay Jones or a Marvin Jones? I would say yes. You know what I mean? So now all of a sudden your offense is just getting better, and you still have free agency and the draft coming up. So you can still retool even more and get more potential weapons. I think Jacksonville's going to be fun to watch.
DG, no, I understand what you were saying. I still don't agree with it, though. Because if he was mentally done with football, again, what would have been the point in applying for reinstatement? He would have just been done. He would have just been done. Mentally, I think he's been refreshed because, again, he's headed to a team where there's a much better
Winning
outlook
cures
than
everything.
what he had in Atlanta.
Winning cures almost everything
Yes.
in the NFL.
Yep, absolutely. Nick wants to know, how high do we think Doomtar gets drafted? For those of you that might be new, Doomtar is a nickname that came this season for our man Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he is a guy that could absolutely go in second rounds next year, and will.
He probably will, right? I
Is
think
that high?
that's too high for me.
Is it?
It's
Ooh.
too high for me.
He honestly, he probably won't get it, but he is a wide receiver 1 overall dark horse for me.
I can't do it. Maybe I like
know.
Jamison Williams too much.
And I like Jameson Williams. I
just think that Jameson takes away enough to where they kind of eat into each other's production. The overall offense is great, but individually they kind of take a hit at a ceiling because
here's where I am still waiting to see what will happen. Buck gifting a membership to the Headliner community, going out to David Grimaldo. Buck, appreciate the support. Thanks so much. And David,
Buck also said that tater tot casserole tastes like hobo vomit.
oh my gosh. But my thing is, do the Lions do anything else on offense, or are they happy? My personal opinion, re-sign DJ Chark and re-sign Jamal Williams and stick with that on offense. There's talk about them not re-signing DJ Chark and drafting a guy in the first round. Save those picks for defense because you need it a lot more there.
Yeah.
There's been talk about them drafting a tight end in the first round. I don't agree with that either. There's been talk of
that
them
offense is a
trading
top
for
3
T.
offense in the NFL. It's top 3. Like, don't focus on the offense as much. You need help on defense early.
Yeah, and I don't think they should trade for T. Higgins. Now, if they traded for T. Higgins, would I be super upset about it? Probably not. But because I love T. Higgins. But I don't think that they should use their 18th overall pick to trade for T. Higgins either. So if those things don't happen, and if they are okay heading into the season with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams as their 1 and 2, I think they both can survive because we saw Jared Goff do it when he was in LA. I mean, Cooper Kupp, when he was in LA, was still a guy that finished top 10 overall at the position. So those two in themselves, I think they can survive together. Now, if they add a third offensive weapon and then couple that, obviously, with how much they like to run the football, that's where things start to get a little bit more, okay, he probably can't get the volume to get there. But Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown are kind of 2 different wide receivers and 2 different skill sets for me. I think they can survive together. I don't think they hurt each other. I think they both could do great.
I mean, I think they both have 1,000-yard seasons, but could one of them be the overall wide receiver 1 with the numbers that we see putting up with people? I don't know if they could get that high. Could they be a top 12, a wide receiver 1 in fantasy? Yes. The number 1 overall, I don't know if I could see that high.
Raul says, what if Stafford would have stayed? As much as I love Matthew Stafford and I appreciate everything that he's done for the organization, trading Matthew Stafford helped this organization a ton because they got an NFL starting caliber quarterback in return and they got 2 first-round draft picks out of it, and Stafford continues to be hurt. Goff was amazing last season. He doesn't get nearly enough love. So I don't want to think about what if they didn't trade Matthew Stafford, because honestly, it was the very best thing that organization could have done.
Yep. Zachary says Jake Doomtar's been going second round in pretty much every dynasty startup I've been a part of since the end of the season. Dynasty is completely
different.
Dynasty is completely different from redraft. Obviously, a lot of the way that you draft is going to be different than you draft for just this year. When we're talking, for the most part, unless we specify it's dynasty, it's for this year. It's redraft based, and there's no way I could take him in the first 2 rounds personally. In a dynasty startup, a talented wide receiver who's crazy young in a top offense in the NFL, then yes, 100% I'm taking him probably in the first 2 rounds of that type of draft for sure.
I also think it depends on what your team looks like as well. Because if you go running back in the first round and then you are in a redraft league and you are forced to draft St. Brown in the second, you're going to have to rely on him to be your wide receiver 1.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't think he has that type of upside, that could be very difficult. And then you're putting yourself in a situation where you feel like, okay, I probably need to take a wide receiver in the 3rd round as well. And then now you got yourself in a position where you're trying to find running backs the rest of the way. Now, if he was a 3rd round talent, or not a 3rd round talent, but if he was a 3rd round ADP, I think that fits a lot better for your team, because then you could go running back, wide receiver, or you could go wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, and you get a little bit more flexibility.
My ideal thing would be having an early first round pick and then something close to that turn pick in the 2nd and 3rd and picking them up somewhere right around there.
Yep.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
What are your thoughts on Javonte Williams, Tam? I think he could be a steal in drafts this year.
Dude, I think that he's going to be somebody that a lot of people have recency bias in a bad way against, because he burned them last year.
Yep.
He has had plenty of time to be 100% fully recovered because his injury happened early on. You get a Sean Payton-led offense. I mean, I think Javonte Williams, he probably will be somebody that I talk about a lot this offseason. I don't want to overhype him because he is not a lock by any means, but he is definitely somebody that you could get probably as your low-end running back 2 this year that has top 12, top 15 potential at the position year long. I mean, I like Javonte. I mean, we've liked Javonte. Damn jersey's hanging right here. I've liked him for a long time. Just like, it just hasn't gone his way with splitting backfield touches and then the injury. This is definitely something, though, where the stars could align this year.
Yeah, and he had a fabulous rookie season.
Yeah.
Volume wasn't all there, but the efficiency that came with the volume is probably some of the best that we've seen outside of Nick Chubb, to be honest with you.
Probably.
We know that Nick Chubb is efficiency king.
Yep.
So, him and Derrick Henry. And he's not going to have Melvin Gordon to compete with, obviously, to start the year like he did last year. Could they add somebody? They could. They could add potentially somebody in the draft. They could potentially add somebody in free agency, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. But my video that I did, was it 2 weeks ago, called Running Backs Don't Matter? I feel like a lot of people just read the title and commented. They didn't watch the entire video. But the one thing, too, that I wouldn't mind is because what that video was about, it was about kind of this fallacy where people will use running backs drafted in the 3rd round or later
of the NFL draft.
Of real drafts, excuse me. Yes, of the NFL draft, not fantasy drafts. They will use running backs drafted in the NFL draft in the 3rd round or later as a way to discredit starters on that same team. So let's say Denver decides to use a day 2 pick in the 3rd round to pick up a running back behind Javonte Williams. People are going to use that as an excuse to discredit Javonte Williams and not draft him, which would be great for us, because if you would have watched that video, you would have seen that 85% of the time, if not higher, those 3rd round running backs and later, they don't end up working out. They don't end up displacing a starting running back or anything like that. So give me a 3rd round running back in Denver this year to let everybody discredit Javonte Williams, and we'll draft him in like the 5th round.
Yeah, exactly. And that would be a huge. I mean, think about it. There was times last year where Latavius Murray was fantasy relevant in Denver when Denver was an absolute show. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Imagine things getting infinitely better, and then inserting Javonte Williams. We could have some of those big weeks as
Especially
well.
if Russ bounces back and the offense can be a little bit more balanced and people have to pay better attention. You've got Judy, you've got Sutton. Dulcich was a guy last year that showed up at times. He's a weapon. So you're going to have, no one's going to be able to stack the box. They can't do it if Russ bounces back. Javonte Williams, even if we don't get 250 touches, let's say we give him 220 just to keep him healthy. With his efficiency, heck yeah, that could be more than enough to be a top 15 running back.
Yep, 100%. 100%. Raul wants to know about Cooper Kupp. Same type of thing, right? Cooper Kupp's probably going to be something. He's going to be 100% healthy. He's going to be good to go. He's already out there on social media trying to get Bobby Trees to come back to LA. I mean,
Allen Robinson was a 1-year deal, right? He's gone.
No, I think he's still there.
Oh, is he? Was it a 2-year or like an option maybe?
Let me look up his contract because I don't remember off the top of my head.
Because Kupp would really be like the only guy.
No, he's still got 2 more. It was a 3-year deal. It looks like
It was
3 years, 46 million.
3 years?
Yeah. So I mean, he's still there. But I mean, Robert Woods, Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp, no running game to speak of in LA. No early round picks.
Cam Akers.
I'm not buying that. No, thank you. Plus the offensive line is horrendous. No early round picks because their pick, and screw those picks. Those picks going to Detroit early. It just,
and who freaking knows if Stafford's going to be healthy? Again, I love Matthew Stafford. He's unfortunately nearing the end of his career. He's just got way too many health issues. His back is toast.
Yeah, and that's what worries me the most about Cooper Kupp is. I probably won't draft Cooper Kupp at all this year. Anywhere
he's going to go in the first round.
He's going to go crazy early, and he's tied to a quarterback that I don't know that if he can play all 17 games. And if he doesn't, the drop-off from Stafford to, is it going to be Baker Mayfield or whatever it is?
I think it will be.
I probably think it will be too. Like, that drop-off, though, is not enough to make Cooper Kupp wide receiver 1 material for me. And with not knowing how Matthew Stafford's going to be, I highly doubt we hear anything until the start of the season anyway. I'm probably off the Cooper Kupp bandwagon. I want to see him do good because I love Cooper Kupp, but when it comes to fantasy football, unless it's a best ball type of thing, I probably won't take any stabs on Cooper Kupp.
I mean, I definitely think wide receiver 1 and 2 is going to be Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase.
Yep.
I think that wide receiver 3 area is where Cooper Kupp comes into conversation. But me personally, and Jake, let me hear your thoughts. Would you draft A.J. Brown over Cooper Kupp this year?
Yes, I would. I would probably draft a majority. I mean, I don't want to come across as a Cooper Kupp hater because I love Cooper Kupp, and obviously he deserves the respect for what he's done here as of late. But when you pull up the names, and I'm doing it right now.
That's what I was getting ready to do, too. The names being drafted after him.
What about Tyreek Hill or Cooper Kupp? That's a big question, too, because we don't know about Tua.
That's a tough one right there. They're kind of in the same area for me.
Stephon Diggs.
I probably go with Stephon Diggs.
I probably do, too.
We were talking about this on the live show a couple of weeks ago when we were doing, like, tier rankings. We were talking, Stephon Diggs actually had, like, the second best year of his career last year, and nobody's mentioning it.
Yeah, and everybody comes across like he had a down year. What about CeeDee Lamb?
That depends on what they do this offseason.
But he's close. Like he's least
close.
In the discussion. You know, that's I think my biggest thing is I think that you can make an argument for 6 to 7 wide receivers over Cooper Kupp this year.
Mike wants to know Amon-Ra St. Brown or Cooper Kupp.
I think if I have to choose at that point, I'm looking late second, early third, and if that's the case, I'm taking the gamble with Cooper Kupp.
Because that is the type of draft stock it's hard to miss on.
Exactly, and that's the whole thing. Now, if I had to choose one of them in the first round, I'd probably go Amon-Ra St. Brown. But at
that point we're being safe with the pick, right?
Exactly. Yep.
We're being safe with the pick,
and that's where it just all depends. But if I can get Cooper Kupp in the first or second pick of the third round, then I will take that gamble for sure. But I don't think he falls that far.
Ben, Garrett Wilson has not reached Cooper Kupp status for me.
No.
Mainly because of the quarterback situation. We have no idea who in the heck the Jets quarterback. Now, if they bring in Aaron Rodgers, let's say.
But even
I don't know
then,
if I do it this year, but
No.
it's in the conversation, I think. I think you could talk about it.
because I mean, there's still other people there. You know what I mean? And that's the whole thing is we bring in another quarterback, and just because Mike White loved Garrett Wilson doesn't mean whoever they bring in is going to love Garrett Wilson. Maybe they love Elijah Moore. Maybe Corey Davis is still overly involved. Maybe it's a heavy tight end scheme and Tyler Conklin is the guy again. I mean, you got Breece Hall coming back once again. There's just so many options. It's hard for me to put Garrett Wilson that high. I'm not off
The
Garrett
big
Wilson by
question
any
mark
means.
there would be Elijah Moore.
Yep.
What is Elijah Moore like? Is he the guy that we saw 2 years ago, or is he the guy that we saw last year?
Yep.
If he's the guy we saw 2 years ago and you still have Corey Davis on roster, then at that point, Garrett Wilson, I think, could be like a high efficiency guy. He's going to be like, he could potentially be kind of like Jalen Waddle was his rookie year, where maybe he got a ton of volume, but he just wasn't, you know, he was getting like, no, I'm sorry, the other way around. Like Jalen Waddle was this past year, where he was not getting as much volume, but the numbers were a lot higher. So he could end up averaging 14, 15, 16 yards a reception and be around 1,000, 1,100 yards. But is he going to get the touchdowns, and will he have all the receptions needed to help boost him up half PPR rankings?
Yep.
I completely messed that up there for a second. Hopefully
I know
people
what you're talking
understood.
about. It's hard. I think Garrett Wilson's going to be a guy that a lot of people overhype this offseason a lot, especially if a Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers or somebody, Lamar Jackson, whatever it is, were to happen. I think Garrett Wilson reaches astronomical highs that I don't know if I would be willing to pay.
If a good quarterback goes there, I would not be surprised if he's drafted as a top 10 wide receiver.
But would you take him in the first 2 rounds?
Probably not.
And see, that's kind of where I'm at too. I'd take him in the 3rd or later.
I don't know if I would take him over any of the guys that we just talked about.
I probably wouldn't either. And that's probably going to be enough to get you into the early 3rd because you got running backs. You got Travis Kelce's going to be taken early. I don't think I could either.
Again, though, there's a difference between us talking redraft, which is what we're talking right now, and dynasty. Like if you were to say, Kyle, dynasty startup, are you taking Garrett Wilson in the 2nd round? I think he enters that conversation because now at this point, you are taking him over Diggs. You are taking him over Tyreek Hill. You are taking him over a Devontae Adams. Like he is higher than those guys if he gets that quarterback. Because my hope would be is that they get that quarterback, they have that quarterback over the next 2 years, hopefully 3.
Yep, for sure. Polo dude out there sending some banger alerts.
Who's got a banger alert?
Polo dude.
Oh, becoming a member for the 17th month.
17 months.
Would you trade him for Calvin Ridley in a 1st in Dynasty then, or hold him for possible? Are you talking about Garrett Wilson? I would not trade Garrett Wilson for Calvin Ridley in a 1st.
No.
Nope.
No, I wouldn't either.
No, because it's Dynasty, so I'm assuming you're talking a 1st rookie. No, like I am not excited about this year's, unless you're in a super flex league and you have a top 1st round pick
and can get
where
a
you could potentially take any of the quarterbacks that you would really be interested in, or Bijan. I'm not interested in 1st round picks this year. Like I mentioned a little bit ago talking about the draft, the top tier talent is missing this year. Like even at the wide receiver position, I'm not really
good
sold
players
on any of these guys being awesome.
Yep.
Quentin Johnson, I think he could be. I think he could be very good, but I'm not 100% sold on him being anything other than Mike Williams at best. And Mike Williams has had some good moments, but he hasn't been a 1st round type of talent.
Yeah.
Jordan Addison out of USC, I don't mind him, but I think it's kind of the same thing as Devontae Smith. Like Devontae Smith had a pretty good year, his rookie year, but Devontae Smith is not a wide receiver 1 on his team. He is much better as the wide receiver 2. I believe Jordan Addison is the same way. He's not going to be big and strong enough to be able to match up against those really, really good corners. He's the guy. Jackson Smith-Njigba, I really like JSN. I think he could be a really good slot guy. But again, I think he needs to go to a team where he can play in the slot and play the Cooper Kupp type of role and be utilized in that way. If an NFL team drafts him to stick him on the outside, y'all done messed up.
Yep.
So the top tier talent that we're missing it's going to mess with some of that. And I think that's why those rookie picks in the first round this year are just no good. Zach Finney sending his very first super chat.
What up,
with
Zach?
The 5 bomb.
Zachary?
Zach, appreciate you. Look, unless it's Rodgers, I'm fading the Jets wide receivers. They have Hackett as their offensive coordinator and Todd Downing as their passing game coordinator. Yikes.
Yep.
I don't love Todd Hackett as the offensive coordinator. I don't. And that is why they would need
I don't
like
know who
a
Todd Hackett
veteran
is.
like Aaron Rodgers to basically come in and kind of trump maybe what they're doing.
Right. It's not Todd Hackett, though, just so you know. You just combined both their names together.
I just did it.
I know what you meant, but you combined them together.
I'm trying to save time.
That's right.
Time.
That's right.
Why
OEG,
say
much respect.
more words when few do same? It's an Office reference. You wouldn't get it.
I don't get it. I see you out there, OEG. Appreciate you. 19 months as well.
19.
That's right. What is the highest month total? Do we even know, Kyle?
I've seen a 21.
Is 21 the highest?
We had a 21. I don't think we've had a 22 yet.
I really don't know. I don't remember when we started it. So
It was
I was just
definitely
curious.
in the off season-ish.
Yeah. Yep. After the Bijan, Hazelnut has now crowned him the Bijan. Here are a couple rookie running backs that I'm digging for 23 and beyond. Oh, and this is a name, Kyle. I feel like
Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah, I know. Do you feel like I'm starting to feel like he is like the off-season love child of social media that is going to not be a thing in the NFL?
Here's my thing about Zach Charbonnet. He went to Michigan, so I was able to see him at one point a little bit closer than what some people were. And what he did at UCLA, he absolutely could have done in Michigan had he stayed. Now, he didn't, which is fine because they have the best backfield in all of NCAA football. And if you think differently, you're wrong. So don't even worry about typing it in the chat. But it depends because it's going to depend on where he goes to.
Where he goes, for sure.
Now, let's say, was it Zach earlier? Or I don't remember who it was that was essentially saying there's no way the Eagles spend a first-round pick on Bijan Robinson. Okay, let's say that's true, and they grab a Zach Charbonnet second or third round. That is a perfect situation right there where Charbonnet could end up being fantasy relevant right off the bat. But if he goes to a team that already has a number one, and now you're hoping that he overtakes and he's again, a late third round pick or a day 3 pick, he's essentially screwed at that point. That's what history tells us.
I don't know. I know it's a different position, but I have some weird Sky Moore vibes. Like, we're going to overhype everything because the guy's going to go to a good situation and then not be involved for a year or two. And
all right, it wasn't Zach that said it. So, Zach, I apologize. You're off the hook. I can't remember who it was. Oh, Justin PG was the one that said that it wouldn't happen. I don't know if he's still here or not, but Justin PG was the one that was adamant that it wouldn't happen. But I agree with you 100%. And one of the reasons why I agree with you is because people, I think, are basing it off as numbers and his flashy play style.
Yep. And it just seems like everybody's hopping on the bandwagon. You go on Twitter and everybody's like, Zach Charbonnet. Everything's all about that. And it's just like, I'm not going to say he's not talented, but I'm not going to say that he's like as great as people are making him out to be either. Obviously, we know landing spot is key, but it's just, I don't know.
It's like Isaiah Pacheco. Isaiah Pacheco was a 7th round draft pick.
Yeah.
But Isaiah Pacheco on 31 NFL teams would have been irrelevant.
Yep.
But he landed in the perfect spot. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire hasn't even been
Yes, exactly.
taking shots at CEH. I don't mean to.
Okay.
So I like him, but again, landing spot is going to play a huge key here, and if he doesn't, I think people, and this is what I kind of talked about in that video that I put out, where after the draft happens, people get up in arms and they're like, oh, 32 NFL teams messed up for 5 rounds because they drafted Zach Charbonnet in the... No, they didn't. All 32 teams did not mess up that many times. There is a reason he fell that far. Now, if Zach Charbonnet goes in the 2nd round to a good team, at that point, we take notice. Then at that point, is it a Kenneth Walker situation? Is it a Breece Hall situation? Is he going to overtake a guy like Michael Carter? Something like that. Is he going to overtake a guy like Rashad Penny? But that's another reason, too, why people are going to overdraft players like that, is because Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall worked out this past year, and it also doesn't happen like that every year either.
Yeah. You know what's going to end up happening? We'll have something stupid happen, like he'll go to Cleveland or something. You know what I mean? That's when you look at all the teams, there's not a whole lot that I can see that are running back needy early. You said, you mentioned Philadelphia, the teams that have that luxury, but outside of them, who?
And free agency is going to play a big part in this, because
some of those
Miles
needs may be
Sanders
filled
is
in.
a free agent. Saquon Barkley is scheduled to be a free agent.
Tony
if they
Pollard
don't get a deal done soon.
Tony Pollard is injured, but he's a free agent as well.
Yep.
I mean, there's other options out there, so that's why I don't know.
Zach, you say don't forget about Dameon Pierce, and don't get me wrong, I don't hate Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce had a good stretch of the season, but he killed you towards the end of the year, and that was something that we tried to warn everybody about, because he didn't have that. He didn't have that in college.
It wasn't just so much him either. It was the team that he was on not giving him the opportunities to get the touchdowns.
Broke down.
Yeah.
Like, you could see it. He wore down. He was getting way too many touches because he didn't have that profile. If Houston were to draft a Zach Charbonnet, Dameon Pierce needs to watch the F out, because if you start losing touches or if you get hurt, Charbonnet is a guy that could come in and steal your job. And now we're talking about like a dead split. So he's a guy that could, maybe he's not a guy that we draft to replace Dameon Pierce, but Dameon Pierce is a guy that I no longer want to draft because he could lose touches.
Yeah. Nuts talking about Buffalo. I don't like one of these backs to Buffalo. What makes Buffalo is that they don't overly rely on a running game. If you're gonna send a running back there that's gonna himself eat up 20 touches a game, you've changed the entire dynamic of that offense. I mean, they still have guys like a James Cook who is more than capable of handling enough of a workload.
And that's Singletary are the perfect fit, but Singletary is a free agent.
Yes. But even if they had somebody that's a complementary type running back like that, sure, they're going to eat up some volume, but what makes them so prolific, and I understand it. I get it that if Buffalo would run the ball more late in games, they'd win a lot more games and they'd be a lot better in the playoffs. I understand that, but that's
the
not...
playoffs and fantasy don't coincide.
Yeah, but that's the biggest difference is real life football, fantasy football. I don't care if they're going to rely on a running back to get 20 touches in the first week of January, because my season's over by then. So,
and if a Zach Charbonnet and Hazelnut brings up Kendre Miller, who he has a good profile. He is a good running back, but he is also a good running back in a very high profile offensive team. So I want people to be wary of that. So, I mean, if a guy like a Zach Charbonnet or a Kendre Miller or someone like that goes to Buffalo, people are going to get excited right off the bat. They're going to be like, oh, he's in a great offense. Let's go. Mm-hmm. But how truly often last year were you starting Devin Singletary?
Yeah.
It wasn't much. If the guy scored, excellent. If he didn't, it's like single-digit fantasy points.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in James Cook, he has some decent draft capital already. So then at that point, you have to look at James Cook and say, all right, so was he a mistake last year? Is he going to be Zach Moss 2.0 and not do anything?
Yep.
I don't think that happens. I think they work in unison together. It's already a pass-happy offense. So he's not going to do enough for you to say, boom, I'm getting this guy.
Yep.
Josh Jacobs is going to be a free agent more than likely.
And honestly,
I highly doubt he's resigned.
I can personally see Buffalo going after a free agent running back more than drafting one that they plan on using.
Yep.
I can see, I mean, I don't really see like a Josh Jacobs going there, but I could see more of like a Miles Sanders going to Buffalo.
Yep.
That would make, I could see that type of scenario playing out.
especially if they don't have to pay a ton of money
Yep.
to do it.
And they still got Naheem Hines there, technically, I believe, too.
They do.
So.
Yep, they still have Naheem Hines. All right, so we have been live for just over an hour. Tam's got one more question here for us. Everyone being hyped about Michael Pittman, and it didn't turn out as was expected. What are your thoughts on him next year? Michael Pittman was not the issue last year. It was not. No. It was a big combination of things. Matt Ryan being essentially done. I think some of the play calling got a little bit bland at times. Jonathan Taylor being hurt for essentially the entire year was not good. The offensive line underperformed a little bit. Then a change at the quarterback position. A change at the head coaching position halfway through the year. Actually, when Jeff Saturday came in, Michael Pittman, volume-wise, was pretty good down the stretch. Michael Pittman all season was actually pretty decent in targets. It just never really amounted to anything. If they get their quarterback of the future, I am willing to buy into Michael Pittman again this next year, depending on where I have to draft him.
I mean, that's the whole thing, too, is when you look at Pittman, did he have a huge year? No, but he had 99 receptions for 925 yards and 4 touchdowns. So was he a top 12 guy? No. But he's still going to be the volume guy there going forward unless something changes this offseason.
It's John's birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, John.
To you.
Oh, wow.
What up, John?
You are not in midseason form, Kyle.
I'm not. No. I've been sick, so the voice hasn't fully recovered.
I got you.
Yet.
I hear you.
I'll work on it.
That's all right. You got time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to do it for the headliners today. Appreciate everybody hanging out. We're doing a lot more of these like 1 hour live streams during the lunch hour. Continue to keep your eye out for a lot of them. Lots of great content coming up. Jake, myself, and Taylor will be at the NFL Combine next year, getting footage, interviews on the field. I say next year.
You said next year.
Next week.
Next week.
We'll be in Indy next week at the NFL Combine, on the ground, boots on the ground, doing content for you all. We'll have more mock drafts coming with the with the season getting, or with free agency and the draft getting a little bit closer. We're going to start talking a little bit more about dynasty content as well, which a lot of people have asked for. So we'll get that going. Still a lot of redraft stuff going. If you're not a member right now and you're willing and able, become a member. Get in Discord with us. Everyone loves Discord. If you're in the chat right now and you're in Discord, tell everybody how much you love Discord. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us. A lot of good things to come. Make sure y'all stick around. Keep the notifications on for us. Hit the like button on those videos when you see them pop up. Leave a comment for us and let us know what you think of the content. Jake, tell the people that you love them.
Do I have to tell the people that they know that I love them?
You have to tell them anyway.
Ben loves them as well because he's also sending a parting one gifted membership. So much appreciation there. It looks like Greg Weston got that. Greg, make sure you tell Dark Desmond, thank you for that free membership. But like Kyle said, I greatly appreciate the support. It's the off season, but this is the fun season. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Giveaways, Aaron, lots of giveaways still coming up. The giveaways have not stopped. We just gave away $500 credit to Pristine Auction and a signed Jalen Hurts jersey like a week and a half ago. So I have more things to give away here in the upcoming weeks.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us. Peace out. Stay safe and stay healthy. And we'll see y'all on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners. Love y'all.
Peace.
When the game on the line, you can't fold and you can't bend. Y'all be playing it safe and I be going for the win.